It has been 30 days since DC K.O kicked off their big fighting tournament event. 5 tie-in issues later, not one single fight. Why must DC Comics and Scott Snyder give everyone comic book blue balls? And I don't know if you've noticed this. When you dig a little bit deeper into the DC K.O release schedule, it's 6 weeks between issues. This event is going to end up lasting like 8 months or something crazy like that. They're slow rolling what was supposed to be, or sold as, a tiny little fun intermezzo event of just heroes fighting each other just to have a good time. That's what Scott Snyder sold us on, and that has not happened yet, and I think we're all still waiting for the fucking fun to start. Now, before we get to this fun, I do want to remind you that the 616 Comics is the #1 producer retailer in the entire industry. If you are looking for the most badass exclusive covers available, hit up their website. There's a discount code in the video description. Now let's get to all the stuff, if you've skipped DC K.O, that you've missed so far. I thought this week would be the week when something fun actually happened. We got DC K.O Night Fight #1, Josh Williamson and Dan Mora. Is clearly just a filler comic book just to do something with Batman because he wasn't going to be in the tournament. You might recall that Batman died during DC K.O. Well, I guess we know that none of the stakes are real in this one because he's immediately back because he had a mother box inside of his arm or something stupid like that, to where if he was not moving for a certain amount of time, the mother box would literally just send him back to Gotham. And at this Gotham, Bruce Wayne went insane, noticed he was slowing down, threw himself into the Lazarus Pits, refused to give up the Batman mantle to Dick Grayson or any of his other sons, and ended up killing Damian, his own son, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake in the process. And the book is all about how, I guess, this version of Dick Grayson believes that he's the better Batman, and that Batman is such a control freak he would never give up the Batman mantle to any of his sons because he just wouldn't want to do that. I've never gotten that impression about Batman at all, that he was a control freak or he didn't trust people, which is basically the crux of this entire comic book. Batman has, and has had for a long time, one of the largest supporting casts in all of comic books, with literally dozens of people helping him out all at the same time, not just his Robins, but his butler, doctors, people on the GCPD. Everyone literally is helping Batman. And I don't think he's Batman because he's a control freak. I think he's Batman because he's addicted to his mission, and he never wants anybody in Gotham to ever experience what he experienced as a child again, knowing that he'll never be able to complete the mission or the task at hand, but literally willing to run himself into the ground and perhaps even kill himself in the process just to help out one more person. That is not the Batman that you get in this comic book, but you do get Dick Grayson screaming that he's the better Batman, and I do suggest you not search Night Fight in Twitter to see what people are talking about, because mostly it's a bunch of gay dudes talking about their boners that happened when Silver Fox Dick Grayson showed up. And I'm not even joking about that one. But that's the best thing and the most talked about topic when it comes to DC K.O Night Fight out there on the social medias. It's not the Dan Mora art, which is fucking spectacular. It's not that this is a great comic book. And I just feel like, especially when you go out to those review sites that are calling it a 10.0, a perfect comic book, everyone is settling for mediocrity these days. I expected so much more from Josh Williamson in this comic book, but it's clear it's just filler. It's just so they can charge you another $5 or $6 every single month while DC K.O is going on for an extra Batman book that seems important because it's the Batman DC K.O book. Newsflash, it's not. It's not even Gotham. I don't know what multiverse this is, but it's clearly not, Earth Zero. And that's probably the high moment of the event thus far. Like I said, no fights whatsoever. In fact, we've had 2 comic books, one of them being Titans from John Layman, and the other one being Josh Williamson's Superman 31, that are basically just the evacuation of Earth, as if that's the most intriguing or important or interesting thing going on in DC K.O. We need to know all the logistics and bullshit details that go into evacuating Earth, because there's so many stakes here. All the people on Earth could die as Earth turns into New Apocalypse, because there's a Heart of Apocalypse in the center of Earth, even though that makes no fucking sense in the world. And it's just the Titans going around from city to city and using boom tubes, and Cyborg is leading the way, and they're so stressed about having to evacuate Earth. And then in Superman's going and talking to like LexCorp or whatever to use Brainiac miniaturizing technology used in the bottle city of Kandor to evacuate entire continents on one spaceship or something like that. They could have handled that in like 2 or 3 panels of a book. Yes, Earth is evacuated, or update, Earth is 50% evacuated. We need another 2 days to finish it. Who gives a flying fuck? They've already demonstrated that anyone that dies in this event isn't dead. Batman's already back. All the competitors that are going to die during the tournament will be restored by the end. We all know this. Who cares if fucking Birmingham, Alabama turns into some type of volcano that's erupting lava and killing people? Nothing to do with the fucking fighting tournament, but we've gotten multiple issues at this point dedicated to the evacuation of Earth, something that will play no important role whatsoever in this, and certainly isn't part of the selling point of the fucking book, but apparently that is going to be the entire storyline in Titans. In the next issue, Earth's going to be fully evacuated, and the Titans are going to be protecting all the citizens of Earth that are in these arcs against space pirates or something stupid like that. Which would be fine if you'd actually given us a fucking fight by now, but we've gotten 2 full issues, not to mention that there was a significant chunk of DC K.O. #1 dedicated to Earth being evacuated. And that's what the Titans book's going to be. I can tell you I'm skipping that one for the remainder of DC K.O. Another big thing, they're already retconning major events. Now, it's implied in DC K.O. #1, and I thought this was kind of interesting, that perhaps, maybe with what's going on with King Omega rising up, and the fight between Superman and Doomsday and what he's become as the Time Trapper, he was destined, or maybe even created, to save a world or something like that. I thought it was neat when it was implied. In Superman 31, Lois Lane, because she's a journalist, U-turns an entire spacecraft full of people that are being evacuated from Earth up to the fucking Fortress of Solitude, basically showing everybody where it is, so she can interrogate Jor-El. So AI Jor-El can't answer any of her questions about the history of Apocalypse or Darkseid within Krypton or whatever. And then mysteriously, Superman's mom, Laura, just shows up, and Lois like introduces herself, and she's like, there is a secret history. And because we knew that there was an Omega that could rise in the form of, I guess, Darkseid, because of all the Darkseid energy, we created an Alpha, confirming that Doomsday's fight with Superman was all predestined, which falls into all the worst fucking tropes that Scott Snyder uses for all these stupid events. Obviously, he didn't write that one. I bet you it was his fucking idea. Taking away the meaning and the significance of one of the more popular DC events of the last, 30, 35 years? Absolutely ridiculous. For what fucking gain? You could have put it out there as a hypothesis, never confirmed it, and we could have had great conversations for years on what that meant, or was it even real? Instead, they confirm it and take all the meaning out of the fucking death of Superman. Not very happy about that one, but the worst thing, without a doubt, the worst thing that's happened since DC K.O. #1, also in Superman 31, we've got this cool stuff going on with Superboy Prime. I don't mind if this Superman book becomes a Superboy Prime book until DC K.O. is over, because Superman's like the main star of it. But no, we couldn't just do that. We had to go and redo the dumbest idea that Josh Williamson has had during his Superman run. Sunboy shows up from the Dark Legion, and because he gets too close to Lois Lane, she's once again Superwoman. I hate to break this to DC Comics and Josh Williamson, Scott Snyder. Lois Lane is already a hero. Is she a superhero? No, because she doesn't have powers. But she is the world's greatest journalist in that universe. She exposes corruption and power plays and manipulations going on all the time, and helps out the people of Earth. Not just America, not just Metropolis. She's literally a world-renowned, award-winning reporter in that universe, and she is a hero in her own right. We have too many stupid Superman-adjacent characters as it is, and they decided to bring that one back. I was so relieved when Superwoman went away after like 3 or 4, maybe 5 months. I was like, thank God. that wasn't long term. We're still dealing with fucking Daredevil Elektra right now. Nobody needs Lois Lane to be Superwoman. Nobody needs Mary Jane to be Venom. Stop taking the love interest of all the main heroes and turning them into superheroes in their own right. It's not interesting. There's nothing clever fucking about it. It's just cliche and fucking tropish at this point, and it's fucking boring and stupid. And I would rather read a 12-issue miniseries of the evacuation of Earth, which I can't fucking stand, than have to read more of Lois Lane as Superwoman. You will eventually have fighting in your superhero fighting tournament, won't you? Like, why is it taking so long? It's been a fucking month at this point. You've had enough time to lay the foundations. Let's actually get the fighting started. I have a feeling that once the fighting starts, and it won't be next week, we got to wait another 2 or 3 more weeks for that to happen, that it will actually be fun. For the most part, besides the Scott Snyder cosmic dark side energy bullshit that will consume it by the end. But I wouldn't mind just having some fun for, 5 months straight before we get to all the bullshit that's going to bury the entire concept by the end. Can we get into the fun already? That's all I'm asking. I cannot be the only one that's noticed that we haven't started our super fun event yet, even though it's a month in and 5 fucking diets. And this is a recurring problem with events, not just with DC, but certainly with Marvel Comics. In fact, I just had a conversation a few months ago with my good friend Perch talking about the death of comic book events, and I have a feeling, perhaps by the end, that this will be another glaring example. If you haven't checked out that video, it was an absolute banger right here, right now, with everybody's favorite guest, your boy Perch.